You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
This makes my nipples hard.
Hey there, welcome to the show. Today, Paul and I are here to talk about where we would rate certain SCI0 games, because we've talked about, what was the one we talked about before, Paul?
It
was a while ago
It was
now.
another acronym. It was AGI. We did AGI. Now we're doing
Right.
SCI0.
SCI0,
Or
right.
SC10
So,
if you're having a mild stroke.
this is kind of what I've been doing. So within the SCI10 range that we're talking about is...
And there it is again.
Is it SCI?
I think we should just keep rolling and let the audience know that they can expect more of this through the episode.
Oh, yes. So let me explain why. So up until today, like literally 5 minutes before the episode, like I have some mild dyslexia in the family. And I was reading it as SCI10 or SCI0. I wasn't sure which one of the two it was because the one and the I look the same. So I keep calling it something that it quite isn't. But what I mean, and you can just substitute this in for my words during the episode, is SCI0.
Yeah, so but we're going to say wrong things, and it's on you guys to just make them right, amongst yourselves.
There's more to it than that. Okay, so when I was asking my lovely fans and listeners of the show in Facebook and in X and in Discord to rank the games, I phrased it in a way that was a bit ambiguous. And so some people put the games in order of preference and other people gave them a score out of 10, which is what I was trying to ask for.
It was really just a comedy, like a series of unfortunate events. It was quite a comedy because Anna was all, we need to rank them in order to put them in the whatever. But it came across as you need to rank them in order of like your favorites. But she meant like in order to it's still a little unclear what she did mean, but this is how we got there. And
which we all kind of figured out before this episode. So the point is the people that gave a ranking order from their favorite to least favorite, we took their number one spot and made it a 10 because we're going to call that a 10 out of 10. And then say it was their second choice, it would become a 9 out of 10. And then people that just ranked it out of 10, we kept their ranking scores as is. That way, all scores line up, and it is mathematically perfect. I can say that because I didn't get very far in high school.
Plus, there's 10 SCI0 games, so that possibly makes mathematical sense. Unclear. Look, this episode is convoluted like a Sierra game. We do this on purpose, frankly. It's thematic. We're really just trying to get you guys in the mood to go over some nice convoluted Sierra games, starting with the first SCIs. Okay, hold on. I got a little excited. But let me just clarify real quick. SCI, I heard somebody on one of the socials refer to it as EGA parser, which I like. I pedantically am like, well, actually, AGI is also EGA, but look, there's only so many acronyms to go around. But I guess the point being is that to refresh your memories, SCI0 is still parser games, but it's like high definition AGI. They're just a lot. I'll settle down with a lot more resolution, but there's a bit more resolution. Here, I'll tell you what. This is ridiculous. Let me just tell you the games that we're going to be ranking in order of their release. Maybe King's Quest 4, Police Quest 2, Leisure Suit Larry 2, Space Quest 3, Colonel's Bequest, Codename Iceman, Heroes Quest, Leisure Suit Larry 3, King's Quest, the Quest for the Crown remake, and Mixed Up Mother Goose. So there you go. Those are the SCI0 games. I've long said on the show that it is my favorite group of games. Like this is peak Sierra, I think, in my opinion. I don't know if I still mean that, but it's like if you were to look at AGI, SCI0, and SCI0 easily has, I think, the most concentrated greatness in it. I mean, like Lara Bow, Space Quest, it's like some of the best of the. Okay, look, I've said too much. Do you want to just start with King's Quest?
Sure, let's do that. Now, I just want to say what we've done is we've compiled everybody's answers with my mathematical properties, and
Oh
we've
boy.
ranked. We've put everything with the score that way. So each one of these will be ranked. At the end of the episode, we're going to take your guys' final ranking and our final ranking, or scoring, if you want to put it that way. And we're going to mix it all together into like the ultimate number for SCI0 games. But
Yeah.
yes, let's start with King's Quest IV, which for me, I don't know, has anybody listened to this show before, heard me talk about King's Quest IV before? And if they have, they might have noticed that it is pretty high up on my list as far as like favorite games go, because it hits me with the nostalgia factor. It was my first full adventure game that I completed on my own. And I also happen to think it's a beautiful game that's gotten a few various remakes over the years and a few potential ones coming up. But I'd probably rank this game fairly highly. Should I say score, Paul? Do you want me to switch to score?
Yes, let's why not? Yeah. We're talking about the game score. So
Yeah. We're
but
gonna
not that
go with
score because this episode's convoluted. No, not the game score like musical score,
no.
but the game score like its number. Words are just
Because
too many words. There's not
people
enough words. Sorry.
people were asking like how to judge a score, and to me it's just overall preference. The graphics, the music, the nostalgia, the actual gameplay, it's sort of all the details of the game to me encompassing in what I would give it as a final number, which is entirely personal to me. So I don't care about what the magazine said about it or what other people have said about it. I'm just taking into consideration me, myself, and I. So for King's Quest, I'm putting it as a 9.5.
Whereas what I like to do is just knee jerk say a number and then fight to the death, making it sound like that's the number I mean.
Mhm.
Just really stick by it. Um, I
Mhm.
guess okay. So you give it a 9.5. Wait, hold on. I don't think we should do decimals, yo. We're not.
Okay.
Neither of us are
We'll do it.
magicians.
Oh God, you're forcing me there. Fine, 10.
Okay. You'll thank me later when we're using a calculator instead of our heads anyway. Um,
True.
okay, I'm gonna give King's Quest. I don't know. Okay, I don't know what to say right now because I don't want to use all my like super high scores up. But I love this game. That's what I mean with SCI0 though. These like almost all these games are exceptional. Um, I'm gonna give it a 9.
Mhm.
Okay, I heard a key thump as if to
Yeah,
indicate that you've recorded that for the
I
record.
did. It is in the records now officially.
I'm trying to see of some of our friends that responded with their answers. If anybody else gave King's Quest 4 a 9 or a 10, and we have one, Ivan Christoph from X. He gave King's Quest 4 a 10.
Nice.
So
Thanks,
we're not
Ivan.
alone there, and yeah, he's the only other one. So yeah, there's one. Um, we didn't do King's Quest 4 on the AGI one, right? Because we're like most people played the SCI. Correct. Okay.
Even if we did bring it up, I mean, like, yeah, we wouldn't. None of us really came across the AGI version when we were growing up. Or far and few between. Most people had to seek it out later in life on purpose.
What is your just pick one favorite moment of King's Quest 4?
Ooh, favorite moment is finally getting the axe. Like, especially my first time and being able to make the trees be scared enough to leave me alone, because I like that for the scare factor, but like visually when night falls obviously is going to be my favorite moment, and walking by the mirror at nighttime in the mansion. I love that too.
Very cool. Good choices. Okay. Yeah, mine's the nighttime. It's
Yeah.
like because I didn't know I made it to 30 years old without that
Mm-mm.
game being spoiled for me.
It's beautiful.
And yeah, I had no idea, so it really took me by surprise. And then the whole game changes its tone quite a bit. Like it
Hmm.
goes from like fairy tale and whimsical to dark and zombies, and it's just yeah, that was awesome. Good. Okay. See,
Roberta's
there's
got
substance.
that dark side to her that I've always loved in the games. They're never like all light and happiness. I mean, her books like that too. It's not all, informational. There's famine and there's, all sorts of things going on. I like how her brain works so much.
Which something Tara.
Yeah, Road to Terra.
Okay. Um, All right. Well, the next game that came out in SCI0 was Police Quest 2, The Vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, King's Quest 4 possibly came out September 1988. Look, listen, we've been through this plenty of times before. The dates with Sierra stuff is pretty dodgy. It's hard to find. It's
Mm-hmm.
often hard to find the same release date in two different sources
Mm-hmm.
with their records and things like that. I think a large part of that has to do with that when everything went to hell on, what was it, Chainsaw Monday or something, like they just threw everything out. So that is probably a lot to do with some of the problems. But anyway, Police Quest 2 came out November of 1988. Again, probably, but this is like, November. That's like peak Ken Williams season for putting a game out. So I believe him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Police Quest 2. What are you gonna give it?
Well, I was able to complete it without any kind of a hint book on an amber monochrome monitor, even with the diving scenes. I love when, like Police Quest 2 hits you when it first starts in that like 3D kind of Sierra. It doesn't matter what color you're seeing it in. It's like, that this is, at least it was to me, a graphically impressive game. And I didn't even know about any other versions that existed that Paul's explained to me about over the years. But it's funny. It's got a little bit in like extra with in jokes and with seeing Leisure Suit Larry in it. I've always liked the way they do like cutaway scenes of rooms and the way they show the inside of, I don't know, like when you're in searching the plane or something,
right?
Or you're down in the sewers, for example. It's got the perspectives, right? It's a different kind of a game.
As soon as you mention the airplane, my brain just went fuselage. Like,
yes, God, exactly.
You get a nice cutout of the fuselage. Even looking at screenshots now, like where you check in at the police station, has just this wildly odd cutout. As I'm sure all our listeners know, a lot of the Sierra games, they did like bizarre. I don't know, what's the word for that. Like, is it foreground? Is it the frame? Maybe the frame, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the way that a picture is framed, it's almost like diorama style in some of them.
Right. Yeah, that's a good call too. But in Police Quest, there's some just kind of wacky ones, like the like just odd shapes instead of an oval. And anyway, it's a I'm glad you said that though, and I recognize you haven't given it a score yet. But just to interject, Police Quest 2, that is one thing. I feel like this game is not underrated, but underappreciated.
Me too, because it was like Police Quest 1 and 2 to me go together like, I don't know, rice and soy sauce or something. Like they're such the team that, I mean, 3 is fine, but 3 is kind of looking at the first 2 and going, man, I wish I could be a part of that club, because there's something magical about those first 2.
Yeah, they're really. Hold on, sorry. Is rice and is that a saying, or is that just what came to mind?
That's just what came to mind. I like rice with soy sauce, although I prefer it with a bit of butter and a squeeze of lemon too, if I really want to get fussy.
Right, but I could see how it was packaged more neatly with just soy sauce instead of, with a square of butter and then also maybe something to drink.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just some soda water.
And okay, so to your point a second ago too, with it's if for nothing else, I feel like it's underappreciated in. Okay, I want to word this in a way that doesn't sound bullshit right away, because I was going to say for its art style, and it isn't particularly gorgeous art, and honestly, I got that put in my head watching Space Quest Historian cover this game recently, and it was he compared it on screen, using the luxury of video medium that YouTube is, and put like Colonel's Bequest and Hero's Quest, and put up some pretty damn convincing screenshots from other games from this era that just they do make Police Quest 2 look a little more like basic. It doesn't look bad. It's just it's very angularly, like, I don't know. It's very almost left brain designed art. But anyway, I'm actually trying to defend the art because it's fun to look at. Like, that was my point. Is that
vibrant color contrasts.
Yeah, right.
I've always loved that about it. And they do the sunset scenes and the way that they use the colors. It's like, I really like the outdoor locations too, like, and where the final showcase takedown is and everything. I don't know. I love it. It's so genuine to me. I've never critiqued the graphics. At least I don't see them like that. Maybe I have my retro eyes on.
Well, and I haven't either. I think that's why I'm getting excited right now, because it's like, holy shit, it's been 200 episodes and I have a new thought on
Yay.
Police Quest, which we've covered plenty of times. But I'm looking at other SCI0 games, and it's actually a bit akin to like Leisure Suit Larry, especially 2. And it's like, okay, here's what I'm trying to say. Police Quest 2, I wouldn't argue that it's beautiful, but it looks like you want to explore it. Like each background is like, ooh, like I want to, even at the park, like with the bushes and the gun and like you want to get in the water or like explore the airplane, and like it's just each scene looks highly explorable. Like you want to highly clickable. Okay, well this is parser, but you get the point. Highly LOOK enterable. That was regrettable, but anyway, point is, yeah, it's that's ultimately I think what I'm trying to say is that it's almost underappreciated for just whatever. It's fine. You know what? No, it's fine. Yeah, just give it a ranking. Get me out of here.
Dude, it's a 10. The Police Quest 2 is a formative game in my upbringing. It's a game that sort of has changed my life all the way through. I can't not give it a 10.
I forgot to even get into the Japanese graphics, which there's no way anybody listening hasn't heard me rant about, so I should leave it.
Oh, I watched it on Space Quest Historians. Did you watch him do any of his playthroughs with the Japanese version? Because oh my god, he would do some side-by-side comparisons as well, and just even the jogger by the telephone booth, that girl, she's just like, her body type is different and everything. It's amazing. I had so much fun watching that.
I sent him the Japanese game because I knew it was when we first got in the network, and he's like, I'm gonna be doing this like on the horizon kind of thing, and I was immediately in his DMs like, here, take the zip. This is the Japanese version. This one works in DOSBox. This one works in Scum. Please include this in your video for me, because it's to me it's still like the most what the fuck moment in Sierra's history.
It's pretty wild, man. It is so wild.
Okay, I don't know if there's a bigger what the fuck moment in Sierra's 10, 15 years on top there than the Japanese version. And the girl, I think the girl you're alluding to, and I could be wrong, but there's a girl that sells flowers outside of the airport, and she's just like full anime, like almost like Sailor Moon with pink hair kind of situation, where it's just like, wow, like this is a licensed Sierra game. This is not a mod. It's absolutely it's insane. So
my only critique is that you couldn't drive in the second one, and I really liked the driving and the overhead map in the first one.
With Police Quest, the driving gets a little worse each game. Is my takeaway, because and then I if somebody was like, dude, you're crazy, the driving in 1 is way worse than 2, I would say fair enough. Because if you don't, I get why you wouldn't like it. It's just I played that so much as a kid that driving around Lytton was like, I beat this to death, but it really was that open world thing for me. I'm like, I could stop over at Carol's, I could go to the courthouse.
Exactly. And it taught me how to read maps, and I had that whole map memorized. I knew where everything was. It was very important to me. The driving is the best thing.
Yeah, and like as without like your only game to play or one of your only games to play, and like as like an 8-year-old or whatever, to be like, I don't know what I'm gonna do today. I'm probably gonna head down to Carol's, see what's going on at the courthouse, I guess. After that, check in with the boys at the station. I mean, can't ignore them. Probably take lunch over at the park. These were,
Oh my gosh, that feels so good just to hear you say that. That's exactly how I felt about that stuff growing up. Because again, my friends weren't playing it. So the game, like, oh my God, is that what it was? Like, in a way, the people who made the game and the game itself was our friends. And I had friends. Like, I've always been a very social person. I'm not like that. But it's just when you're sitting at home at night and you're not hanging out with your friends, and most people I knew were watching TV, I was, hanging out with Keith and, smelling the cigarette smoke on his jacket. Or I was thinking about Jim Walls and how wouldn't it be cool if he knocked on the door and said, hey, Anna, let's talk about Police Quest. And I could like sit and hang out with him, because that's how Sierra made me feel about the people that made the games.
Yeah, same. Absolute same. A quick shout out to Stairway to Retro. He gave the Police Quest 2 a 10 as well. And I give it a 10 too. That's all. Yeah. That's all three. Yeah. Police Quest was a big, a big thing for me growing up. We really liked those games. So yeah, that's we got to give that. It's all right. That's 10s, all the 10s and a 9. Okay, that brings us to the next month, December 1988. Leisure Suit Larry goes looking for love in several wrong places. So Larry 2.
Yeah, and I
Yeah, she.
actually,
Sorry.
I really liked Leisure Suit Larry too. I think I thought it was a beautiful game. I thought it did really good job with the close-ups. Its little vignettes when it would do the close-ups with the features. I mean, considering the color palette that they were working with at the time, I like it. I think it's vibrant. They made a lot of use of purple and blues throughout the game. Like just on a visual, it was more comic book like than the first one. Like when you'd see some of the close-ups, or for example, there's an explosion, like I don't know, when the bomb blows up. That kind of gave it the comic book feel. Sometimes you get these really cool perspectives, like Larry from behind, or again back into those cutaways, the cutaways of the airplane, or just I don't know, when you're looking at what's her name, the Kalau or whatever, Kalalalu, the girl, the pretty one with the, I don't know, the flower in her hair. It's like, I think they did a better job with looks. Like if I'm looking at that aspect, like it was a tricky game, but again, I was able to finish this game with no hints and no hint book all the way through. I never got a perfect score, but I mean, the fact that you get married at the end of it, I mean, it just leaves you wanting to see what's going to happen in the next one. So I know this one doesn't rate as highly as the third Leisure Suit Larry game, but it's a solid 9 for me.
Wow, that's unexpected. Okay, I found her name and I still can't say it. By the way.
I'm not looking right now, but I could. I've played this game a lot.
It's I think Calaloo, but it's CALAAU. So I don't know if it's Kalalau or like
Yeah,
Kalaloo.
because you get to see her topless. She's like,
Yeah. I love that you're the one that had to bring that up. I forgot that I was supposed to do a bit where I was going to be like, yeah, because I got the can now. And you started like a Mugsy, but I forgot because frankly, I was lost in your words, lost in a sea of linguistic bliss.
I get so sentimental about the Leisure Suit Larry games because
your whole tone changes. It goes all kind of like romantic NPR. I get sentimental, you guys, and it's lovely. It's intoxicating.
Oh, good. I'm glad because I don't think a lot of the people rated. Did anybody even rate Leisure Suit Larry much high at all?
Yes. And I'm so sorry for the name pronunciation here because I'm not confident in either name. So it's either Joni or Yanni. And then the last name is Grezikowski. Nope. There's no K. I just put a K in there for no reason.
This is why we talk in type.
Graziowski.
He's one of our favorite guilders.
Italian.
Lovely person.
But so is it Johnny, you think? Or is it... it could be...
I don't...
Or it could be Johnny, Joni, or Yanni.
Yeah, one of those, for sure.
Right. That's fair.
They're all beautiful.
Why are we... right. He... Hi, if you're listening, thank you very much for your scores. I'm so sorry for what I did to your name back there. It was uncalled for. He put Leisure Suit Larry at 9.
Right.
Out of 10. Same as you. So that's super high. For me, what I think is I'm gonna give Leisure Suit Larry to. It's funny, if I went before you, it would be a lower score, but you've really got me excited about it.
Good. See, this is why you have me going first. I understand.
Because now I'm like, well, I don't want to give it a 6 or a 7. I mean, I think I like it more now. She decided. Most recently, I played the AGS remake, a point-and-click remake of this game. So just if anybody wants to mess around or whatever, you can head to adventuregamestudio.co.uk, and there's a point-and-click remake that's extremely polished and professional vibes. Like, yeah, it's basically Larry 2, but just with a point-and-click interface. I'm gonna give it a 7.
7.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7. I didn't love Larry.
I thought you were giving it a 2.
Oh, geez, no. Okay, no, I thought more than that.
Good. Okay. Yay, 7's nice. That makes me happy.
Yeah, it was between 6 or 7. You might have been the difference there, but still, yeah. Because I had fun playing the point and click version too, even though it goes against the spirit of this episode. It doesn't matter. It's a 7. We're free to move, get through the holidays to March 1989. when a ragtag,
Ragtag.
a plucky bunch of guys from Andromeda, which is really far away. My kid's having like a space phase right now, so I'm learning a bunch of space facts. I'm probably learning these facts for like the 13th time. They just never stick, because
Yeah.
it's all inconceivable numbers. So it's like it really serves me no purpose in being like, well, actually, Andromeda is 26 billion light years away. Like it doesn't matter. Sorry, the point is Space Quest 3 is next. It came out in March of 89, maybe. The Pirates of Pestilon. Anna, your
Right.
thoughts, please.
Well, I mean, I've always thought of this game as divided up into colors. It's like you have blue and purple worlds, and then as you get like deeper into the game and things get kind of a bit heavier, you go into like the red worlds, and then it goes back into like more red and blue. Like it's always been really colorful to me.
Yeah.
Right? It's fun. Its use of colors is unusual. It's otherworldly. The fact that it brings the two guys from Andromeda in on the game. Like the in jokes, the kind of like the meta-ness of it, but it's like it's not all like humor from other games. Like the whole thing isn't based on satire humor. Like a lot of it's based on its own humor. Like I feel by the fourth one, as much as I love it, it kind of went more into like, these are the things that a lot of people will know about. We can make jokes of it. It's Star Trek or it's whatever. But like, I think this game, it was funny in its own merit. And its own ideas. And as scary as it might be, I loved the grids and the charts and thinking about the stars and flight patterns and programming stuff in. And like, I didn't find it tedious because I was into that game kind of thing. I liked flight simulators, and I liked really weird thinking things. Elmo Pug too. He's just the characters in this game, the way that it continued the story from the first one and led into the third one. I've always really liked this game.
I like it so much, I'm offended that you implied that people find it tedious back there. What was that?
It hits you though. It hits you right in the feels. It's just raunchy enough. It's it's naughty. It's a little bit naughty. It's a little bit dangerous. It's kind of funny. It's a little bit meta. It brings the jokes in from all of Sierra. I think some of the thirds do that. Like we'll get into it later with another one of the third games in the series, but it's really, really good at just poking fun at who it is and just not taking things too seriously.
It is so fun to look at, as to your first point. Like I've been quickly pulling up screenshots of these games as we're going along, and the image results on just a Google search for Space Quest 3, just immediate dopamine hit. It's just like all the purple and blues and it's just fun to look at. It's got the Sierra headquarters at the end, which also ties into the other three on this list that we can get to, where they both do a masterful job of bringing Sierra into the game at the end. And I just adore this game. I don't have we ever done an episode just on Space Quest 3?
Oh my gosh, we should, because then we can talk about the postcards and I love Fester Blatz. I think they brought him back in, or at least a version of him in the 6th Space Quest game a bit.
Oh my god, my kid a while ago Sturman wanted to do like a EXE video. For anybody listening, there's like, I think Sonic EXE is what started it, but it's like a horror shorts, just terrible YouTube brain rot kind of videos where they take, a beloved IP and do like a quick horror thing with it. And he wanted to do an EXE. So we did a Sonic EXE in our own house, and when he watched it, it scared the shit out of him. I fucked that one up. I might have dropped the ball there. I whoops. I mean, the whole, there's no book on how to parent. Sometimes it's like, where's the line between, fear and trauma? And sometimes you just find that out, where you're just like, okay, we're past the line. He's going to remember this for 3 years. But anyway, we put so much work into the filming of it. All right, I'm exaggerating for yucks. I mean, it wasn't that horrifying. He would refuse to watch it ever again, so it's somewhere in there. Anyway, look, listen. Back to Fester Blatz. We recut the video using Fester instead of Sonic.
Nice.
So for anybody listening, if you want to see it, I'm not necessarily recommending it, but you can go on YouTube and just Google like Fester Blatz EXE. I used Google instead of search there. That was stupid. Go to YouTube and search festerblatz.exe. And if you actually do that, leave a like for my kid. Every now and then he looks at his YouTube and gets excited when there's a new like. We have a low bar here for YouTube likes, as you know from our podcast not being on it. It's not really much in our lives, but anyway, back to Space Quest 3. I have so much to say about it that I'd rather just do a dang episode on it someday. So
yeah, let's do that. Can we just talk for 1 second though? Like, okay, for the fact that Arnold is in it, obviously, because all of us were into Terminator, whatever else, that was awesome. But that, like, the one shot that's always stuck in my head, like, and there's a lot of shots I like from this game, but you know, when you're first caught, and like Arnold has you, and the pinks and the purple and the expression, the close-up on the face, because this is the first kind of Space Quest game where they really started getting in with these close-ups, and you're seeing it in this whole new cartoon-like perspective. Like, everything about that is so much of what is my favorite thing about this era.
And that's the particular portrait close-up that you use to springboard into that is phenomenal, because it's the Arnold, whatever, the Arnold robot, and he's like looking at his debrief, like his mission, and you see that reflected backwards in his glasses.
Yeah.
And it's like that was straight cinema at the time, like for a computer game.
Yeah. So it's really hard for me to not give all of these 10s, and I am having to think very hard about this. But yeah, I mean, dude, this is oh man, yeah, game is a 10. It is freaking good, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I gave us this breathing space in the beginning by saying SCI0, and maybe that was for everybody's conclusion to draw on your own by the end of this. But it does seem like a special group of games here that were exceptional. Quick shout outs to two Classic Gamers Guild Facebook members, Justin Quinlan. I don't think I messed that up. Maybe it's more smooth, like Quinlan. I don't know. And Terry Dillon. They both gave Space Quest 3 a 10. Terry said that it's straight up the best game of all time. If anybody's seen me on video, you see the giant poster behind me, so I'm inclined to agree. Justin said that he tries to play it at least once a year. And Justin, I love that. I really do, because me and my kid play a Space Quest every Christmas. Really, my birthday's Christmas Eve, so that's why I always say that. But it's for my birthday, my gift to me is making my kid play a Space Quest with me, and it always has, even when he just sat there with like a bottle and couldn't speak yet. It was a thing. So yeah, anybody who plays it once a year, I like that. It's very, very cozy thought. Okay, so that's just more lots of 10s.
Yep. So here's the thing, and I want to just say I'm sorry to anybody who didn't understand the question that could have rated more of their games as a 10. Maybe you wouldn't have said 1 to 10. Maybe you would have said these 3 are a 10 and that's fine. I understand that, but luckily this is just a podcast episode, so.
Yeah, this is just a rehearsal. No, we're going to get this. We're going to have this all figured out by the time there's nothing left to rank. That's what we decided. We're like,
yeah,
come the last one, we're going to know, because we forgot to ask our Patreons too. I'm so sorry. We were proud of ourselves for remembering our Hotspot Network friends at the last second. Like, oh shit. By the way, stay tuned to the very end. We're going to give the rankings of One Short Eye and Space Quest Historian and Joshua Cleveland, and let you know what their rankings were, because you know, if you guys do any adventure YouTube stuff, you know those characters. You want to know what they got to say, and we have the bloody exclusive. So I regret that, but anyway, let's move on to the next one, which is October 1989. Getting into spooky season here, and the Colonel's Bequest. It's a bunch of heavyweights, man. You can't fuck with SCI0.
No, this is a big deal, and Colonel's Bequest is great, because I mean, if I was to choose a game for somebody who had never really played a Sierra game and wanted a game where they could feel like they were progressing even if they weren't, and get a final score at the end no matter what happens, even if they didn't figure out the mystery, the Colonel's Bequest is typically where I guide them, as long as you're okay with the parser game. It's got, again, it does amazing work with the cutaways. Its outdoor scenes, its night scenes are just out of this world. It does a lot of play. Like, one of the things I like about this game is the way that it plays with shadows, especially outside. Shadows coming off of trees, some of the trees in the shadow, the foreground, the background. I don't know, the personalities, like the maid, Fifi, and just like so much of this game to me is reminiscent of one of the other games that are on this list that I won't say yet, so that this can be interesting and a surprise. But man, it's a beautiful, beautiful game, Paul, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is, Anna, and I'm glad that you brought that up because it's it's remarkable that I was just thinking it's crazy that this might be the second best looking game in SCI0, and that's
Yeah.
insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good looking, and like it's I would guess that if we were to take like a popular like a vote on this, I don't know where popular came from just then, but if we were to take a vote on this, it'd probably almost easily get voted the most good looking SCI0 game. I just have an affinity for Space Quest 3, but it,
Mm-hmm.
like technically speaking, is probably better. Um,
Right.
if for nothing else, just the way it really kind of, I don't want to say introduced lighting, but it definitely took lighting to another level as far as what they were doing with it back then.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I'm usually wrong. As far as like earlier examples, I don't know, but anyway, it's an unbelievably gorgeous game. Yeah, it's like you had said earlier. Sorry, I really wanted to remember that, and I did it the last second. Yay!
Yay.
You said a second ago that it was the game you'd recommend, but then you're like, if not for the text parser, and I've had that exact same hang up because it's like I think we've talked about this before. It's like what's the Sierra game for Lucas people?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when we first started this podcast and we were having not first started, but in the earlier days when we were doing a ton of interviews and having a lot of indie devs come on, a lot of them were from Europe or the UK, where Sierra didn't make it that far as commonly as Lucas did. And there was like lots of people who hadn't ever played a Sierra game yet. So, and I think that's what started it. It might have even specifically been Michael, Yaks Wax Lips, where we were trying to, at the end of our interview with him, we were trying to pin down exactly what he should play.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say Colonel's Bequest if it wasn't for the parser, because it's just, I think the parser is a bit of a firewall for people that didn't grow up with it. Where like they're willing to try it, but it's,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've heard from the people that have tried it, it's like they like it, but they'll never do it again. They're like, that was a
Mm-hmm.
fun, weird novelty, and
Mm-hmm.
the end. And if it was, yeah, it's like a novelty, I guess, if you don't have experience with it. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I guess all that is to say is that it's one of Sierra's absolute best games. Like I really. I'm not sure we've ever forced each other to like come up with the best Sierra game, or at least in this context, like it's. I usually say Colonel's Bequest or Gabriel Knight, as far as
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, the best moments of Sierra. Like, yeah, I love Gold Rush, but like I'm not gonna actually suggest that to somebody.
Not unless they're prepared for it, like,
Right, right,
yeah.
literally, yeah, exactly right. Anyway, yeah, Colonel's Bequest. It's a really fun game. It's the kind of game that it's like the challenge of it without a walkthrough is it holds up really well without a
Mm-hmm.
walkthrough. Is I think
Mm-hmm.
what I'll end on. Yeah. I have to give it a 10. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair. Absolutely. Okay, so I never have finished it yet with the full score because I never put a word for this game. I only played it just using my brain and trying to play it. So there's still potential for me to keep playing this game is the point. And I think I've done that on purpose. I've left
Right.
it. And I mean, if you don't play a game for a year or two, you kind of forget stuff anyways, right? But once you know how to play a game, like for example, if I roll up and play one of the Space Quest games or something, like I know how to finish it. I may not get a perfect score every time, whatever, but I'm going to fly right through it. Well, the Colonel's Bequest, I'm going to fly right through it, but it's still a challenge for me to find all of the things that I've missed. So that, I mean, the replayability after this long of time, the progression of time in it, but the text parser, which obviously didn't take away from my ratings of any of the other games, I'm probably putting, but it wasn't one of like my big passions. I never became obsessed with it. It was never one of my first games or anything. So like, I guess I'm giving it a 9. I mean, an 8. I'm giving it an 8. Eesh. Yeah,
Okay.
it's an 8.
That's very
Yeah.
unexpected. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I like that. Like, yeah, that's fun. Something I wasn't at all prepared for. I really thought that was a shoe in 9-10 from you. Shout out to our Gilder friends Amber Thut and Joshua Smith, who both put Colonel's Bequest way up there. Amber gave it a 10, Joshua gave it a 9. So
Mm-hmm.
that is Colonel's Bequest. Now we're moving on to the holiday season 1989. All the young little Sierra fans were about to get blessed with just one of the greatest Christmas gifts of all time, a little gem we like to call codename Iceman. for some.
Now here's the.
Sorry. I forgot you could think things without saying them. It's my bad.
I'm just saying that this is a trickier one because a lot of people haven't played it.
Yes, including us.
Well, I've played half of it.
Half of it? Up to the submarine?
Well, up until the sub, yeah.
Right, that's fair. Well, that's something. So tell us about your first half of it.
Well, I started playing it and I was like, oh, holy shit, finally, it's Leisure Suit Larry 4, because that's what I've been waiting for at the time, obviously. Because I know Leisure Suit Larry 3 came out later, but I didn't get codename Iceman till later on, like after 3 was out and before that I'd played 5 or anything else. So I thought, like, when the beach scene and everything came on at the beginning, it was going to be a sexy game. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little bit funny, too. Like, I don't know. It looked like a Larry game or something. So I was pretty sure that it was going to end up being a funny game. Did you know anything about it before you played it?
You're like, I don't know. I was expecting to have a good time with it, but fuck me. I guess it's not meant to be fun.
Well, I found it like it was not as tongue in cheek as some of the other games that I like to play. I'm like, it's beautiful. Some of the scenes are beautiful, but it's also quite simplistic. Like I know now that what happened was Jim said to the guy that was doing the coding for the submarine, he's like, hey, take this manual for running a submarine and follow exactly what it says and make it so that's what the player has to do. So instead of changing it or simplifying it to become a game mechanic, they tried to be more authentic with what it was. And so when it came back, timing issues, not being on period correct hardware. There's so many reasons why, even if you had a walkthrough sitting right in front of you, you wouldn't be able to get through that scene. And I think, like, if you take that away, it's an absolutely beautiful game. Like, there's a point where there's a Russian destroyer, and you're riding into the sunset. Like the outdoor scenes are really, really well done, but I feel like the indoor scenes in this game have always been lacking a little bit of love.
Well, it has that kind of Police Quest 2, Leisure Suit Larry 2 art aesthetic. Like it can almost follow Sierra through times and see. You can usually find 2 or 3 games that are very similar in vibe. That were just like obviously made at this like back to back, like the color palettes, or there'll have been like an influence that went around the office recently, and it kind of just leaks into the games. And anyway, Larry 2 and Iceman almost looks like Larry 2 and Police Quest put together art wise. Yeah, I feel good about that. Actually, looks just like that. Like Police Quest 2 on the beach. You had said a second ago, like, what did I expect from it? And when I was around at the time, I don't think we had this. I don't remember it at all, let's just say. But like, once you get re-indoctrinated into Sierra, I think for a lot of us, it probably had to do with like Facebook becoming a thing, or like, back in the day, back for our own renaissance, whenever that happened to each of us, and you rediscover things and you find out there were like games that you missed growing up. And so Iceman was one of those. And so like, I looked at him before I'd heard what to, expect from it, or heard about the submarine part or whatever. I was just like, oh, this is cool. This is going to be like a international spy thriller, like Police Quest, but like international, and like there's more at stake. And, just, I don't know. I guess I was thinking like, an American James Bond sort of situation. And I don't know if it is because I haven't played it. So there's that. But you had also said, to touch on the submarine part, that even a walkthrough doesn't help. And I that just made me think, like, maybe I should hop on like Sierra Help, or just do a search for it and see if there's like save games, because there usually are. And you can usually download the save games. Like, I know in Space Quest 6, it was helpful back in the day to grab the save games to get past like one of the infamous bugs in a room I can't easily describe them quickly, so we'll just skip it. But point being is, like, there's been other times with Sierra games where like I've used the save game to get past something. Granted, usually it's a bug, but in this case, like, just to try and enjoy the story without letting frustration kind of creep in and ruin it. Maybe I should just like arm myself with the save game, play it, enjoy it for as much as I can, just skip the submarine after clicking a few buttons to no avail, and get it done that way.
Like, that's a good idea, actually. I might do that. Okay, here's the thing with this game. I've just pulled up some screenshots of this game because I didn't get far enough in it to kind of have an idea about all of it. And there's a scene where you're deep sea diving, just like in Police Quest 2.
Right.
It is not the same. It is not as pretty. It is simply not as nice. It's like there's the dithering isn't as detailed, or it doesn't look as realistic. Like, it almost feels like they put so much effort into authenticity that they kind of skipped a little bit on the graphical side as far as looks go. It's just not as creatively interesting.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Because earlier I equated it more to well, I was saying it's like Larry 2 and Police Quest 2, but there's another scene where he's like walking on outside and there's like some storefronts and they're actually pretty bad looking. Although this is cutting room floor, maybe this didn't make it in the game. No, it did. Yeah. There's like these plain beige wall buildings that he walks past, and like the rocks are extremely plain, the walls are extremely plain, like really, actually kind of shockingly bad. I didn't realize.
It's not good. It feels
It's
to
not
me
good. Right.
like there's another part where they're in the city. There's another part in Stacy's apartment later on. There's another part where they're walking through. It's lacking. Okay, there's like a switchback road later on in the game. And there's like a chase scene and stuff. And it's like, I feel like they just copy pasted something in there and didn't even bother to make it look good. Like, and it could. Like the compound later on in the game, it could look good, but somebody didn't care.
It could, right? They just forgot to care. I hate when that happens. I mean, and a lot of us are used to like just seeing that opening scene where he's sitting on the beach in the huts, and that looks nice. But the more you dig, it quickly goes really downhill. It would almost be an interesting case study to put codename Iceman next to Police Quest 2, because if you were to squint your eyes, they're quite similar. But when you really look, like, you know, it would beg the question of like, why did I claim that Police Quest 2 is so highly clickable? Like, what about a little environment makes you want to click it versus Iceman? Because, like, for example, both these games have a hotel room, and there's nothing about the Iceman one that looks fun. It's just three giant plain yellow walls with a bed, a mirror, and something else. Like, it's not fun.
It's not, and even the puzzles, they're kind of like like boring a little bit. Half of the action, half of the actual gameplay, I think, is like in the manual itself. It's not even in the game. There's so much to it. The sequences they're not always like in order. Like, it can be a little bit frustrating in general.
Well, a few notes from listeners, like from Johnny, Joni, or Yanni. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Good old JG, you know? He said that he put codename Iceman above Colonel's Bequest and King's Quest 4 and Camelot. And I'm not trying to publicly shame him right now. Like, because it could almost sound like that if you wanted it to. He actually says it's better, but what it does is it gives me hope in playing this game. I think it might have been Sean McCauley, another guilder, who also kind of backed this up. No, that was Gabriel Knight 3. Regardless, it's nice to see that he ranks this higher than Colonel. Like, it's not automatically at the bottom. Like, there's hope. Somebody out there had a good enough time with it.
Well, you saw it. What Ash Amin from the Classic Gamers Guild said that it actually helped him pass his first aid course in real life because of the learning from the manual.
Right.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
Right. So it was actually useful. So it might not be fun, but it's useful, and that's not nothing. So.
My personal ranking for this game, though, unfortunately, is at a 3, and I would love to rank it higher, and maybe one day I will finish it with the save file and change my mind. Okay.
Well, I'm going to put down your 3, and mine, I don't have a score because I haven't played it, so the community will speak on my behalf. And that moves us on to number 7, which is Hero's Quest. So You Want to Be a Hero from also the same month. It
Mm-hmm.
came in Save Christmas.
Mm-hmm. It really did. So you've played this game before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sort of.
Yeah,
Right.
I used to walk through playing it in my Jeep on a mobile.
Mm-hmm.
It was the least immersed I've ever been in a game in my life because of the environment. Like it wasn't the game's fault. It was just like I was learning why you shouldn't play adventure games on a whim, in a car, on a mobile, and a few
Mm-hmm.
other factors at the same time. But yeah, I did technically get through it.
Right. So you might have heard from me before talking, but this game is like, if I take away the nostalgia of King's Quest 4 being my first game entirely, Quest for Glory 1 easily in my first favorite ever for so many reasons. I mean, outside of the stat building, it was the sense of discovery, it was the sense of humor. It was the dithering in the forests and on the ground. Every single environment is dithered with so much care. And like Erasmus's house is whimsical. It's all pink and purple, and he's got a pet that tells you jokes like a pet rat, which is amazing. Arena's piece is comforting. The battle scenes are vibrant and beautiful, and you can just spam it. Like, there's no real skill to the battle scenes. You're just like hit forward over, over, and if you're powerful enough, you're gonna survive it. It has a day-night cycle. It has Baba Yaga in it because I'm of Russian heritage, so I grew up with stories of this witch. To finally play a game where you get to interact with her, get her hut of brown to sit down and go into it is like nothing else I've ever experienced. I don't get the chance to talk about this game very much because Paul hasn't played it very much.
I disagree. I feel like this comes up just too much.
And then the Brigand Warlock at the end of the game, the changing of the characters, and just the graphics of the food that you eat, when you have to buy a bunch of apples and give it to Broggy. The Mage's Maze is a game. I love that. If you're a magic user, you get to play this like game with Fenris. And even just the character selection screen. This is a funny, interesting, engaging game that is 20 out of 10 if I could.
Okay.
So it's a 10.
Well, it's obviously a beloved game for the whole community because Ash Atman has it at 10. Joshua Smith has it at 10. Giving big old ums in between these, trying to scroll quickly. Man.
I use the find feature.
JG gives it a 10.
Nice.
So, it's got the most 10s from our listeners than any other game does by far.
Woo! Because you know what? This game touches you on a different level. Like, you're not just playing through it like a King's Quest game. You can live. Yeah. You can live. You can die. You can get hungry. You can gain skills. You can be like, you know what? I'm going to spend time throwing rocks all day. And then at the end of the day, you're better at throwing rocks. Like, there's a sense of achievement. There's no other game series out there that I know of that connects to the next game when you're picking your character up and gently placing it in an import disc. And then not only do they carry over, but their stuff carries over, except for when you start 4 because you've lost your stuff. But that's like a storyline thing. It's supposed to happen that way. So I don't really think there's anything else out there like this at all.
You had me at you can throw rocks all day and you'll get better at throwing rocks.
It's true.
In that moment, I knew I want to be a professional rock thrower.
But it's fair, it's reasonable, and okay. Like, I need to do this for my own. Okay. So when you play the game the first time and you're a kid, say you're me, I was like, what's the best way to do it? So I formulated a plan with my dad as to which order to play it in, because there's a lot. So like the first time I play this game, I play it as a fighter because it's basic and it's the easiest. Eventually you can be a paladin in later games, but it's the most straightforward. Fight / you're good. And then I play it again as a magic user because it's a little bit trickier than the fighter because you can't get good at fighting, but you can still get super strong, but you can use magic on things. And then the trickiest one and the most exciting one is playing through as a thief, because then you can break into places and see all the scenes you couldn't see when you were a magic user or a fighter, because all of a sudden, after playing the game through twice as two different characters, a whole different world opens up where there's a secret thieves guild and codes and all these characters you've never met before. And, all of a sudden the old man or the old lady, or the sheriff's house, you're going to break into it at night and see what's really going on. And then you get all these extra chances to get killed, which is also fun because there's so many ways to die in this game. Tell me that's not awesome.
Ah, it's crazy. No, it does sound fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's the word. That is the exact word I was looking for.
I told Paul if he didn't want to take the time to play the game and play it through all the times, and hey, somebody tell us that this is a good idea, because I think it is. I told him, yes, that he could jump onto Discord and watch me play the first game, and then he'd sort of get the whole feels for it that way, and it wouldn't take very long because I've played through it so many times.
It would take a long. There would be Anna director's commentary.
Maybe I should put it on YouTube then.
No, that does sound like fun. I was I wasn't expecting you to go that direction. I thought it was going to be something where like I had to play it myself, to which gross and no thank you. But if you were playing it, I shit on it in jest.
Yes,
because I look forward to liking this game one day. I think I will. It's made by this company that makes a few games. Don't know if you ever heard of them. Big fan of them. I'm sure I'm gonna like it. It is, in all seriousness, I think part of my delay has it's two-part. One is that it means so much to Anna, and really to a lot of our listeners too, that I don't want it to be one of those games where like I just get through it Friday night for a Saturday episode, which I have done for some of these comparison things. But with those games, it's like I've played them, like immersed myself in them before. So I think a lot of it is me like waiting to be able to give it attention. But the other part is a little bit of that it can sometimes feel overwhelmingly gate kept, just because of the amount of lore. And like anytime you enter a fantasy world of this scope, everything has a different name, right? Like you don't call the lion looking thing a lion. Like it's going to be a type of like shaman or whatever. It's like it's this very specific type of creature in this world, and they come from a long line of said creatures, and these are what they're good at. And it's like a lot. It's a lot to get into, but it's gonna happen. Everyone will see. You'll see. So
I didn't know that, like, for example, the kata, they wasn't creatures that everybody knew about. Like, this wasn't just a regular thing. So I'd bring it up like with my friends and explain it, and they'd be like, that's not real, that doesn't exist. And it's like, it doesn't even exist mythologically. And because Sierra's so obscure, my friends all just thought I was crazy.
Right. That's fair. All these years later, it's still happening.
It is. I had a conversation with my mom when I mentioned some of the kata, I think, from it. And she's like, what is that? And she goes to the internet and she's like, I keep looking it up, but I'm not seeing it. I'm like, oh, add the keyword Quest for Glory.
Right. Well, things like Baba Yaga, like it sets you up to expect it to be a real thing, because Baba Yaga is, but they both have a ridiculous name and only one of them's true, or, in popular folklore. But that's the other thing too. It's when people converse about Quest for Glory, like 30% of the words they'll say amongst themselves, you don't understand on the outside. Like when you and Ryan Slats were talking about it, you're like, well, Kata said to Baba Yaga to Shamin that I can't keep that going because I don't know well enough. But point being is like it's that kind of world where it has its own lingo to a sense. It's like I don't know. I used to cynically always feel like a large part of having to go to school for most professions was just to learn their specific lingo, because that's how they gatekeep you out of being a I don't know, lawyer, doctor, or something. I don't know. I shouldn't have given any examples because that sounds like I just
Plumber, truck driver, it doesn't matter. Any one of those
right.
really
Exactly.
helpful.
They've all got their own.
Yeah, because like if a lawyer takes the trucker's test and the trucker takes the lawyer's test, well, they're both stupid now.
It's a very like yes, exactly, exactly, and they're both very important to the functioning of society, and we love you guys. But it's like it's very. I think humans we do it on purpose because we like it. We like being like, oh, the old pentatonic scale. What you don't know what that is? Well, you got to, it's like there's something that feels good about the, I don't know, the earned knowledge. But whatever. Okay. Anyway, look, Quest for Glory. Anna gives it a 10. So does most people. I'm gonna play it. You'll see. But I wanted to bring up before we move on to number 8 here. But we're almost at the end. Is Quest for Glory 2. A lot of the guilders and our friends were puzzled to not see it on the SCI0 list because it is EGA parser, let's say. But Quest for Glory 2 was made with SCI 1.105, and it's the only game to have been made not only on that specific interpreter version of Sierra FSCI, but it's also the only SCI 1 game that's a parser. So it's got some oddities about it. But the point being is that it's not technically SCI0. So, it don't belong here. Okay, number 8. Leisure Suit Larry 3, Passionate Patty in Pursuit of the Pulsating Pectorials.
Which is a great, and it's another game that really plays on themes of color depending on where you are. You're in green areas, you're in purple areas, you're in blue areas. They do more work with cutaways, but then they do kind of like, they do portraits differently. Like if you recall, you get to meet Dale the stripper, and it's kind of like his portrait merged into a pink background, or even going into the bamboo maze where we had Al Lowe on the podcast, and he talked about just taking the same screen and flipping it in all those different ways so that he could use up less energy and disk space and have all that happen. So on that, it's a beautiful game. It's a different game. It's funny because I think it's the first Sierra game that I ever encountered where you could do a character switch, where all of a sudden you become somebody else. And I had no idea that was going to happen. It was just like all of a sudden I was the girl in the game, the girl that Larry had been lusting over. And like me as a player, I'm lusting after her too, obviously. And so all of a sudden I get to be that woman. That's a that's a really satisfying moment. And they even mess around with you. They mess around with the deaths. Hey, I like Patty so much. I dressed up as Passionate Patty for one of my costumes at the Hotspot convention. So obviously a lot of respect. And I mean, I'm not even taking into account the way that they didn't just break the fourth wall down at the end of the game. They like smashed the fourth wall down at the end of the game, because this was meant to be the last game in the series. So when you're all done and you think everything's done, you literally drop out of the game and into the set of Police Quest, or where they keep the props, or Roberta's sitting there directing on King's Quest 4, or they're like very, very end, they're literally doing the programming on the game on like a mini computer screen, or they go to the Space Quest set, I think, in there too. You quit the game from there. There's just they did such a good job with this game, Paul.
Yeah, it's my favorite Larry game for sure, and it's there is something really oddly satisfying about switching to Patty in a way that I can't explain, and also in a way that is more undefinably meaningful because it's Larry and because both characters are sexualized. And I don't know how to even articulate what I'm thinking right now because I haven't thought about it before, but there's just something about like I don't know. I'm not sure if it's because of the power dynamic that you finally get to be the female when you've been, just getting the bloody business given to you as Larry for 3 games. I'm not sure what it is, but it's incredibly rewarding to be Patty in this game. And I did know it was going to happen, so it wasn't a surprise for me. But the surprise for me with Larry was I revisited it a couple of years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago. And this and King's Quest 4 were the 2 games I walked away from like, wow, those are really, really good games. Like without nostalgia being in the picture at all. Obviously, there's a bias because they're my types of games and they're Sierra games, and there is a lot of like, let's say, handicaps or unfair advantages. But like both of those games and specifically on topic, Larry 3. Like when I was finished playing that, I remember just sitting back and being like, that was so fun. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
so mad it's over. Like I was so bummed out that it had to come to an end, even though it was a satisfying ending. Possibly one of the best endings to a Sierra game, in all of its satisfactions. You're seeing like the cardboard cutaways, of all the other Sierra games, like the props, let's say, of this other Sierra games, specifically the SCI0 games.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's like all your favorite games have like their props in the background, and obviously that's just like a tiny little part that's not even of the gameplay, but the game itself is a ton of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like it holds up really well. Favorite Larry game. I'm seeing from the community that it's odd to me, but almost everybody that's chipped in here, except for Mark Ganoin.
Mm-hmm.
Gun Ianon. Gananan. So Mark was like the only one that put it above Leisure Suit Larry 2. Everybody else
Mm-hmm.
put Larry 2 ahead of Larry 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that odd. Do you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just because of the ending. I always thought automatically that Larry 3 was rated higher by most people.
I just think it's such a better game.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's weird to me because Larry 2 to me is one of the lesser in the Sierra entries. Where I'm just like, yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
fine. It's not bad. It's just it's fine. And then Larry 3 to me was like, remarkable. So
Mm-hmm.
this one's a little harder for me to even to understand than usual. I don't know. I don't know why. I'd be actually curious why. Maybe the maze. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But all right. Well, anyway, let's rank it and start to wrap this thing up. What do you give it?
Well, I mean, considering I gave Leisure Suit Larry 2 a 9, and I like this one slightly better, it's got to be a 10.
Right.
What about you?
This is where it's hard because I think I like Police Quest 2 and Space Quest 3 better than this game,
Mm-hmm.
but I it's so close to a 10. But because in respect to those two games, I think I have to give it a 9.
Right. That's fair.
All right, we're gonna do the next two just kind of more quick fiery. We don't want to go out on too much of a whimper here as we lose energy getting through this. But Kings and the last two are, yeah, they're you'll see. So
Hmm.
King's Quest 1, Quest for the Crown. It's a remake. It's not the VGA remake, right? Because we're still in EGA, but it's the SCI remake of King's Quest. We just recently did a whole episode comparing those two. Maybe I should just hand this whole part off to that. But um, if you haven't checked out that episode, check it out. Um, and regardless, we could definitely at least rank it.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, the end of Larry 3 even has the stage for Space Quest 2, or
It does.
I think it's Space Quest 2's intro, where you walk on the ceiling. It's so cool. Okay, sorry. So
Well,
King's
Larry's really good with innovative angles. I think every single Larry game plays around with angles in a way you wouldn't expect.
right, like when you're looking up at
Mm-hmm.
his taint and ball sack in the shower.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that. Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to be crass. That is
It is.
descriptively correct. That is what
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at. And it's like, wow, they drew that. That's wild.
Well, okay, so the King's Quest 1 remake to me always was extremely reminiscent. And I mentioned this during our other episode of Quest for Glory, especially like when they're doing the work in the cave, when you're exiting the dragon's lair, there's stalagmites and stalactites, a lot of the color schemes that are there. So yeah, it's very much of its time period. And if it was how I came across King's Quest the first time, maybe I would have been a little bit more engaged than just like how King's Quest 1 originally was. So I would, even like in the Witch's House, it's very, very Quest for Glory. So, like, I'm not rating this high because I've never been a huge fan of the first King's Quest game in general, but I would certainly rate this higher than I would rate the first King's Quest game. So I'd put this at a solid 6.
Um, okay. Speaking for the community real quick, this game was played the least out of everybody that submitted something.
Mm-hmm.
Iceman was played slightly more than this, which is fair. I mean, that's the reputation of the remakes, right? So they're largely just skipped over. Um, we've covered this in the episode. I don't have nostalgia for the first one, so I kind of like the remake a little bit better.
Hmm.
Just because I felt the first two King's Quest they were so old and early. It's just so much green and yellow
Hmm.
that it's just not that fun to look at. So I just on those bases did I like the remaster better. Um, I'm gonna go 6 as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of figured you'd be around there.
Okay, maybe 5, but I guess 6. So why not? Anyway, last one is Mixed Up Mother Goose, and I don't know if this one really belongs on the list because there was a version of Mother Goose for everything. This is the
Hmm.
second version of Mother Goose. There was a Mixed Up Mother Goose for just AGI, which is the one that I grew up with, and then there's this one, the SCI0 version, which is just like a slight bump up in quality, and then there's a VGA version, and then there's a CD-ROM version, and all four of them
Hmm.
have different artistic style, not styles, but characteristics, and this one is the least necessary
Hmm.
because it's just not that different from AGI to have really warranted it, considering that the VGA ones are quite a step up. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I don't know. Did
And
anybody?
nobody really ranked it much either, or if they did, they ranked it quite low. So you could almost strike it off the list as being, we're much too grown up for this game today.
Mm, okay, sorry. Yeah, we're good. We're gonna just not on that. So wait, before we compile, we forgot Conquest Camelot.
I mean, have you even played that game, Paul?
I have not, but Anna, I hear tell that you've both played and enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did. You know what? It's a pretty game and it's based in lore. And even though it doesn't have the humor I would generally expect, it was funny and good enough that it kept me engaged. And I completed the game again with no hint book. And to me, what has stuck out over the years of playing it when I was younger is the riddles, because in the game you would get these riddles from a stone and you had to answer them to progress. And I actually had to figure out what the riddles were and how to answer them with the help of my family. So it was like the whole processing of things. And so like it was a beautiful game. It was the arcade sequences when you were playing it on a period appropriate computer were fun. Like now it can be a little bit tricky with the timing, but back then it was fun. So like it was never one of my favorite games, but it's such a beautiful box too, and it's so well thought out. And I actually liked it better than Conquests of the Longbow when I was younger. Like it was the one that I preferred. I never finished Conquests of the Longbow. I found it a little bit difficult. Now that I've learned more about it and I have played it all the way through, I can understand why I thought it was so tricky. But Conquest of Camelot was easy enough just to finish on my own as a probably young teenager at the time. So I'm going to rate this one at an 8.
Okay, my thoughts on it are I've been saving this one, just in that way that you would savor things like the asshole kid in class who doesn't eat their candy and then waits until the class eats theirs and then they pull it out and just nurse it in front of you. That's what I'm doing because I the parser error to me. And to your point earlier about Longbow, I think we both have a bit of a I don't know presupposition to like the parser games a little bit more. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to compare and rank and just definitively be like, yes, I like parsers more. That's not what this is about. But I think we tend towards them, towards the parsers. But anyway, for the same reason that you might put Camelot above Longbow is the reason I've kind of been savoring it because I'm told not to expect great things from Iceman, so that kind of rules that out. And but
Mm-hmm.
that leaves the Quest for Glory games to really be like enjoyed and immersed in. But I can't help but categorize them as not pure adventure games, right? There is RPG elements. So to me, like this is the last pure parser Sierra game for me to play that I haven't played. And so I'm like really
Mm-hmm.
just basking in that and waiting for the moment to just like, yeah, really enjoy it. But I'll say for the community, our guilders, Jeremy Brown gave this 10. This was his favorite. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the only one that ranks it as the favorite, which is cool to know that it is somebody's favorite in general. And then Mark Noyne, I'm sorry, Mark, about your last name. Not about your last name, like sorry that you got that last name. Sorry for the way
No.
that I'm pronouncing it. Jesus. Mark gave it an 8. So those are the two highest scores that it got. So anyway, Mark gave it an 8 like Anna. That's what you said a second ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, around about there. So now we're going to compile our results and then come back with what our hotspot members have said.
Yes. To the compiler.
The King's Quest 1 remake got a 6 straight up from everybody in our audience and got a 6 from Paul and a 6 from me. So the numbers I have to average out are 666 for that one.
Very metal. Yeah.
Okay, so I have magically calculated up the average scores for each game for this episode. So before I read them out, I was wondering, Paul, if you could read out what our fellow members of the Adventure Game Hotspot thought for their scores.
Yeah, I sure could, and I will. So, Space Quest Historian. Trolls ranks. Shocker. Space Quest 3 got a 10 from him. I'm gonna go in order, by the way, here. So as one might. Trolls gave Leisure Suit Larry 2 an 8. See, another one that really rates Larry 2. Maybe I'm not going to go in order. Yeah, I'm going to go in order. I can pull it off. Trolls gives Colonel's Bequest and Larry 3 both a 7. He gives the King's Quest remake a 6, which is higher than I would expect. And probably to anybody else who's listening might be expecting if they've seen his King's Quest videos. Conquests of Camelot, he gave a 5. King's Quest 4, he gave a 4. So he rates the King's Quest remake more than King's Quest 4. And he just recently played Police Quest 2, which is why it breaks my heart that he's got it last with a 3. Disappointed fatherly like head shake, Trolls. Unbelievable. Ridiculous. One Short Eye is next. One Short Eye gave 10 out of 10 for the Colonel's Bequest. Here, we're in agreement. Hero's Quest, he gave a 9. King's Quest 1, the remake, he gave an 8, which is quite high. King's Quest 4, he gives a 7. Wait a second. Really? I mean, I know really, because we copy and pasted this, but... So, One Short Eye ranks the King's Quest 1 remake over King's Quest 4. Well, I'm going to take issue with this with him in private. He gives a 6 to Mixed Up Mother Goose. Fair enough. And then Adventure Game Hotspot, Joshua specifically, of the duo there, of Josh and Jackua. Sorry, I know it wasn't that funny, but man, that was stupid. Josh and Jackua.
Oh, before you read it out, can I just say one of the things that One Short Eye said was he rated codename Iceman, Mask of Eternity out of 10, and at the bottom with the asterisks, Mask of Eternity is indeed a number somewhere between 0 and negative infinity.
Very good. I like that. Mask of Eternity out of 10. Damn. Should have done the whole episode like that. So back to our Joshua. He gave Colonel's Bequest a 9, Space Quest 3 an 8, Hero's Quest a 7, Conquest of Camelot is a 7, and King's Quest 1 the remake is a 4, where it belongs, because it's been overrepresented by our network friends. So anyway, there's the Hotspot Network's ratings. Anna, what's ours? Where are we at?
All right. And the final score is, and that's everybody's score that we pulled across our audience, as well as Paul and I's score, as it's all averaged out in my weird mathematical way that I've decided makes sense. This is the total. And the last one on the list, and the least popular at this time, with the fewest number of votes, is Mixed Up Mother Goose with a score of 3.25, which I guess I'm not that surprised about, eh?
A.
You neither?
Yeah, that's a solid A for me. Fun fact, Canadians spell A, E-H. So
we do.
There's no A in the word A, which is...
No, otherwise it would be ah.
or or A, because that's the letter and the sound that letter makes. But it's
Like
fine.
the
No,
letter A. I know. Yeah.
I'm
No,
just
you unless we're saying, if we say fucking A, like fucking A, man, that's spelled like a fucking and then an apostrophe with a A.
right, exactly. In that spirit, it's fine. Now, like this is about ranking games, not about It's just I'm a little bitter, I think, because my last name was Corman with a K, and everybody assumes it's a C,
Mhm.
and I'm like, no, it's
Right.
spelled with the letter that makes the K sound. Like, why are we doing this to each other? Why did we be like, hey, so for all the K sounds in the world, like cat, like that should be a C, right? And they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, it should be. Like, what the? Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Doesn't matter.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so
There's no
codename
need for a
Iceman was
C.
also
Is my point. There's the
no
letter C,
for
maybe a
real.
CH, as they do in Spanish, or at least Mexican Spanish, where there's a CH letter. But just the C, it's an imposter. It either is where an S should be, or it's where a K should be. I'm gonna start a petition. Down with the letter C.
Sometimes it sounds
See?
like an S depending on where you put it.
Right. It's either
It's
an
a
S or a
confusing
K.
letter.
It doesn't. All right. Anyway.
Mhm. Mixed Up Mother Goose 3.25, Codename Iceman 3.58, King's Quest 1 Remake 6, Conquests of Camelot 7.09, Leisure Suit Larry 2 7.52, King's Quest 4 at an 8.27, Leisure Suit Larry 3 at an 8.38, Police Quest 2 8.52, Colonel's Bequest 8.53, Space Quest 3 at a 9.3, and Quest for Glory at a 9.34. Booyah.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you being mature about Quest for Glory winning. That was minimal gloating. And I competitively am a little bummed that Space Quest 3 lost out to it. Even framing it as lost out to it is adolescently unnecessary, but that's how I feel. This whole thing is rigged and bullshit, and I'm flipping the table over and leaving.
Well, good, because now that gives us the chance to say thank you to our Patreoners for supporting us and giving us the ability to keep making these episodes. Because honestly, with this being able to help pay for our hosting, it really helps us move forward and think of other ideas and not have to worry about where we're going to get the ability to even make this happen at all. So it pushes us to keep trying. And thank you so much to Brian Manown, Gareth, Jay Holmes, Mark Fillion, Michael Council, Tim Ellis, and everybody else who is a member of our Patreon. I'm so sorry we didn't ask you for your opinions for this episode, but we are learning, damn it. I just want to take a minute, too, to say, Mick, you are the coolest person. Thank you so much for hanging out and for being a part of the band. It was so great to meet you in person. I will forever remember meeting my other buddy from Victoria, and also to Gareth for not only being Leisure Suit Larry, but being just a real all-around good guy, somebody who was there to help and get things done, to figure things out, and just to be 100% on it through the whole fanfare.
Like unsung hero on it, backbone.
100%. 100%. So just thank you guys for being you guys. You guys absolutely rock. All right, so I would love it if you would get a hold of us and say what you think. Maybe you don't think we scored this properly. Maybe you have another number in mind. Maybe you have an idea for an episode. Maybe you just want to say, hey guys, thanks for the podcast. Or hey guys, please stop making this podcast. Whatever it is, get a hold of us on Twitter at CGG Podcast or at Phantom Fellows. You can also send us your words at, now we have a new email address. Paul, what is that?
It's mail at class. Nope, that's man. I've been rehearsing this line for several minutes, and I got nervous, you guys. It's mail at cggpodcast.com. So our website, as it has been, is CGG Podcast. Now it's just mail at our actual website, because before it was doesn't matter. Mail at CGG Podcast.
Perfect. And then otherwise, find us on Patreon as Classic Gamers Guild. You can join us on Facebook. We're a page, we're a group. We're also on Instagram and YouTube as the CGG Podcast. And that's it. Go forth and play adventure games.
Also, don't forget to check our episode descriptions for what our Hotspot Network friends have been up to. There's a lot of good videos coming back from the fanfare. So really going from Daniel Albu, some interviews. There's Adventure Game Geek did an interview with myself about Phantom Fellows. So as always, we always put the what the network friends are up to in the description. So check it out below and don't do a murder. Little ball breaky up there. Little clam clattering. I don't know how to feminize ball breaking.
Clam clattering. Oh my god. The Clattering Clam, and then that's the name of the restaurant.
It's like a good piratey pub.
It'll have
The
like
Clattering Clam.
But the clam open and the clam closed, but the clam's perpendicular.
Right. Oh, wow, that's good. Right, be all animatronic.
Yes. Yes.